Just let me like the color. Okay, guys, a very good evening. I wholeheartedly thanks the AIM for PG group, admin Nigam and his team. I am Dr. Khalil, Professor Microbiology, with past 14 years of experience teaching all India, attached to a medical college in Hyderabad. Today, I would like to take the topic on Staphylococcus aureus. Are you all with me?
Full.
Nigam, is okay? My voice?
Yes, sir.
Good. To start, yeah.
Yes,
As
sir.
you can, yeah, very good. This is a very important chart that is displayed here. Just a minute. I hope you are all able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Take a second. I'll just give the flow chart. Just give me a second. Fine. As you can see, we have a very important chart. I mean, my slides, what my presentation has been prepared, keeping in mind right from secondary MBBS students to people preparing for USMLE. So please guide, cooperate with me, because if you are secondary MBBS, try to pick up those points which would be asked in university in your respective university exams. And if you are preparing, if you're an intern preparing for NEET, try to get those points. For preparing for USMLE, then pick up those points. Fine. As you can see, whenever you have a question stating gram positive, first test that I would suggest you to remember is catalyst, right? Look here, you have a catalyst. You do a catalyst test, so it's gram positive. You have a cocci in gram positive. You have bacilli in gram positive, right? If you have catalyst positive cocci, which is gram positive, I would suggest you to do a catalyst test. And if it's turned to be positive, then you should think about Staphylococcus aureus and the other Staphylococcus species.
Full.
Full? Are you okay? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible. Your screen is not visible, sir.
Screen is not visible. Now it's visible?
So we can see the screen, but not the slide you're talking about. We can just see the folder.
Okay. I'll just see. Okay. Just give me a second. Thanks for sharing that. 1 minute. But I did not. How about now?
Yes, sir.
You can see the flow chart?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Sorry. Please give me a feedback if it's not available. So you have a gram positive and you have a cocci. What test do? You do a catalyst test, right? You do a catalyst test. If it is catalyst positive, it is definitely Staphylococcus aureus. And if it is catalyst negative, you can separate the entire genus Streptococcus. I repeat again. If it is catalyst positive, it is Staphylococcus aureus. If it is negative, it is the entire family of Streptococci. Now, this is very important because it's very simple questions. Sometimes they are asked based on this test. Because the first organism they talk about all over India and in the globe is Staphylococcus aureus. Just remember, first organism in systemic bacteriology is Staphylococcus aureus. And you have to be positive in life. So catalyst positive, just close your eyes, give a pause, and it is definitely the answer is Staphylococcus aureus. The entire Staphylococcus aureus species in which you have the genus Staphylococcus in which you have 3 species. One is Staphylococcus aureus, Epidermidis, and Saprophyticus. Right? After you do a catalyst test, now another thing that you have to question yourself is how do you differentiate Staphylococcus aureus from the other 2 species of Staphylococcus, right? Then you have to do a Coagulous test. If it is Coagulous positive, it is Staph aureus. If it is Coagulous negative, it is other species, that is Staphylococcus epidermidis, Staphylococcus saprophyticus. Is it okay? You're able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Good. Right. So Coagulase, so after you do a catalase test, because today's topic is Staphylococcus and gram-positive cocci, you do a Coagulase test to differentiate species among Staphylococcus. So if it is Coagulase positive, it is Staphylococcus aureus. If it is Coagulase negative, two other species, that is Epidermidis and Saprophyticus. Good. Now, to differentiate Epidermidis from Saprophyticus, you do another test. You put a antibiotic which is Novobiocin. Which is Novobiocin. And when you do this Novobiocin disc, if it is sensitive, it is Epidermidis. If it is resistant, it is Saprophyticus. I know it's a very boring chart. You just have to remember. But believe me, go back to your All India books, go back to your competitive books. You see plenty of questions just asked on this flow chart. Fine. Let me repeat, come back in a very rapid flow chart. Gram-positive cocci, you do a catalase test. It is Staphylococcus aureus. And then you do a Coagulase test to differentiate species among genus Staphylococcus. If it is Coagulase positive, it is Staph aureus, definitely. If it is Coagulase negative, it is the other two species of Staph, that is Epidermidis and Saprophyticus. And how do you differentiate Epidermidis from Saprophyticus? No person sensitive, it is Epidermidis. No person resistant, it is Saprophyticus. So that's how you end the flow chart differentiation among these species of Staphylococcus. Okay. Fine. Now the other important point, salient, very important salient features of Staphylococcus aureus. So as we have already discussed, it is catalase positive, it is Coagulase positive, it is catalase positive, it is Coagulase positive. DNA is produced, it produces DNA, it produces phosphatase enzyme. Very important point, it produces golden yellow pigmentation because of beta carotene. It produces golden yellow pigmentation because of beta carotene, which is much appreciated when you grow this at 22 degrees centigrade on milk agar, or if you add glycerol monophosphate or queen agar. Believe me, these are very important high yield exam questions. See, everybody knows till here. But this is an extra edge which will make you extraordinary in remembering. So they ask you at what temperature can you enhance the golden pigmentation? Your answer should be minus 22 degrees centigrade. What is that agar that is used to enhance beta golden yellow pigmentation? Your answer should be milk agar. What are the substances that are added on milk agar or on the media to enhance pigmentation? Then your answer should be glycerol monophosphate or twin agar. Fine. Another important thing is ferments mannitol. We are talking about Staphylococcus aureus, the salient features. One, catalase positive, Coagulase positive. It produces DNA, phosphatase, golden yellow pigment, ferments mannitol. Fine. Let's move ahead from here. Another question that can be asked is the most common method of typing of Staph aureus. The answer should be fast typing. Now this question arises. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Good. The screen is visible?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Great. Okay. Now another question that they would ask is, what is the most common method of typing of Staph aureus? The answer should be fast typing. This question arises, they will give you a clinical scenario like in the nursery, the neonatologist has come back to microbiology asking, all the babies in the nursery or NICU have been found to grow Staph aureus that have been seen in your report. What could be your conclusion? Then you should say, it could be the nurse who might be spreading the infection in that NICU. How you are going to confirm and tell me, doctor, microbiologist? So he will say, I have to do a fast typing. That's how this is the role of importance of fast typing. That is the method of typing of Staph aureus to know exact what is the strain of Staph aureus. Then the typing is fast typing. Good. It is done in Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi. Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi is the referral center for fast typing. Fine. Another question that they can ask is, plasmid-mediated beta-lactam resistance is found in Staph aureus. Beta-lactam resistant plasmid-mediated is transferred by transduction. There are three methods of gene transfer, as everybody knows: transformation, transduction, and conjugation. Your answer should be transduction, and that is easy to remember because we already talked. It's phage. Transduction occurs because of phage, bacteriophage. Okay. Another question that can be asked in your Viva or might be in All India is, What is the most common site where you can find Staph aureus, especially the MRSA strains? It is the anterior nares, 50%. Anterior nares. Second is your hands. That's the reason why in hospitals it is advisable to wash your hands frequently, every 20-30 minutes, because Staph aureus is found on your hands, and especially menstrual women, when they use the tampons, it is advisable to wash the hands then use the
అందులో కూడా
tampons,
చేసి
because
వీడియో
usage of tampons then again can lead to toxic shock syndrome. Move from here. What are the other sites other than your anterior nares and your hands? It is the axilla and the groins. Okay, let's proceed from here. What is the most common way to prevent hospital spread? The answer should be hand washing. Fine. How do you eradicate this colonization site? Nigam, is it audible?
Yes, sir, it is audible, clear and crisp.
Good, good. Yeah, fine. Let me know if any of the participants have any problem. I can stop. We can like break up for 5-6 seconds, then we can continue. Fine. Another question they will ask you from medical point of view is, how do you eradicate a case of MRSA? Suppose you try to know a case of MRSA, and you have identified it, you have diagnosed it. What treatment you would like to give? You should give topical mupirocin ointment with chlorhexidine bath. This patient who have been found to have diagnosis of MRSA should be applied. You should take a swab like this, apply mupirocin ointment, and in the anterior nares, you have to repeatedly apply this ointment, and you should give a total chlorhexidine bath.
What is MRSA, sir?
Methicillin resistant Staph aureus. I'm sorry. MRSA is methicillin resistant Staph aureus. Okay. Now, methicillin is a drug. It is actually a misnomer type, because methicillin as such is not used for testing in diagnostic side, because it's very unstable drug. Instead of that, you use oxacillin, or most commonly labs use cefoxitin. I repeat again, methicillin is a word misnomer used for MRSA, which is known as methicillin resistant Staph aureus. But as such, methicillin is not used in drugs in diagnostic purpose, because methicillin is a very unstable drug. Instead of that, you use an oxacillin salt agar, because Staph aureus can resist salt and grow. But these days they use cefoxitin direct, which is a second generation cephalosporin, cefoxitin. And believe me, MRSA diagnosis can be done by a screening with cefoxitin, which is a surrogate marker for PCR, which is very costly, which is very cumbersome, where you detect MEC-A gene. There's a gene that codes for MRSA. Doing a screening by cefoxitin is almost like telling ki this guy has an MRSA, which can be diagnosed and confirmed by MEC-A gene, which is done by PCR. Good. Methicillin is also not used therapeutically also, because it is nephrotogenic. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Proceeding for here, another important concept of endocarditis in Staph aureus. There are a lot of questions that have been asked in even All India AIM for PG groups and other competitive exams. Most of the students have a problem. If suppose anybody asks you, what is the most common cause of overall endocarditis? Overall common cause of endocarditis, your answer should be Staph aureus. Most common overall cause of endocarditis, the answer should be Staph aureus. They pose another question on endocarditis. Right-sided endocarditis. Right-sided endocarditis. Your answer is again Staph aureus. Fine. Another question. Right-sided endocarditis in IV drug abuses. The answer is again Staph aureus. Left-sided endocarditis. I hope you are making a note of all these things, all the participants. Or you can audio record it also. Left-sided endocarditis.
Later we'll upload it, sir.
Great, great, great. Left-sided endocarditis, it is enterococci. Right-sided endocarditis is Staph aureus. Overall, most common cause of endocarditis, Staph aureus. IV drug abusers, most common cause endocarditis is Staph aureus, followed by Pseudomonas and Candida. Followed by Pseudomonas and Candida. IV drug abusers. Right-sided endocarditis. Good. Let me concentrate more. Yeah. Now, coming about endocarditis, there are people who have prosthetic valves. Now, the question that again comes on this concept is early valve prosthetic endocarditis. Then the answer should be Staphylococcus epidermidis. Now, how to remember this is early you have the letter E. In Staphylococcus epidermidis, you have the letter E. That way is a very easy way of remembering that. Early prosthetic valve endocarditis is caused by Staphylococcus epidermidis. Late prosthetic valve endocarditis is caused by Streptococcus viridans. V comes late. So late, remember like that. Late prosthetic valve endocarditis. Very high yield shooting points. Very commonly asked in exams, believe me. Fine. The other infection that is caused by Staph aureus is acute myelitis, osteomyelitis, pneumonia, surgical wound infections, your nail beds paronychia, and your epidural abscess. So basically, Staphylococcus is a culprit. It doesn't spare any organism. It causes all your cutaneous, subcutaneous, solid organ, space organ infections. Good. Let's move from here. Right. There's another important word that is being used, and I think we should not finish and move ahead without talking about this. Voitromycosis is a very important term. Voitromycosis is a clinical condition which resembles as similar as a fungal infection caused mycetoma, as you can see a pic over there. The clinical diagnosis, you also have to keep in your mind voitromycosis, which resembles mycetoma. Right, good. This I'll share later because all other organisms also that causes voitromycosis. There are a lot of things, but I can share this with you through Nigam. Fine. Virulence factors of Staph aureus. Most of the people know that Staph aureus doesn't have a capsule. It is not a capsulated organism. But believe me, it has a microcapsule. Though it has a rich typical capsule as other organisms, it has a microcapsule. That's the reason why they talk about inhibiting phagocytosis or promoting adhesiveness to the prosthetic devices. Staphylococcus has microcapsule. Fine. And the virulence factor, most common, most dangerous, fatal virulent factor of Staphylococcus aureus is teichoic acid present in the cell wall, which is present exclusively in gram-positive. If they ask you what is present in gram-positive that is absent in gram-negative cell wall, then your answer should be teichoic acid. Now, if I ask you another question, what is present in the cell wall of gram-negative which is absent in gram-positive, then your answer should be lipid A. Fine. Let's talking about virulence factor. So number 1, virulent microcapsule. 2, teichoic acid. 3, protein A. Protein A of Staph aureus. It helps in binding to the Fc portion of IgG. So just imagine this is Staph aureus, and you have a protein A like this, and it has the Fc portion. This is the immunoglobulin. Therefore, it inhibits because IgG has already come and bind to the protein A of Staph aureus. So there's no chance for the our host cells to come and phagocytize that Staph aureus, especially that strain is called COV1A strain. COWAN, COV1A strain. Fine, these are the virulence factors. Talking about few more enzymes which act as virulence factors is coagulase, which we have already talked about that. Very important among all the enzymes. Those other enzymes are not that important. The third part on virulence factors is the toxins. Fine, let's talk about some toxins like cytotoxin, which produces alpha toxins and does the routine usual damages the cells and the tissues. Very important. Other than that is enterotoxin. Very important. Exam yield again. Enterotoxin is a type of preformed toxin. Enterotoxin nothing but is a type of exotoxin only. It's a preformed exotoxin that is produced especially in cases of food poisoning. Patient comes with symptoms and signs like abdominal cramps, vomiting, mostly vomitings, and less diarrhea. Where patient gives a history of having consuming meat and milk products, picnic food, salt, mayonnaise, custard. Right? If you have a history, this patient coming with history of consumption of this, if within 1 to 2 hours, then you please suspect it could be a case of food poisoning, and the responsible thing is enterotoxin, which is a preformed exotoxin. The very important specialty again, high yield areas, it is heat stable because all exotoxins of gram-positive are heat labile, but this is a preformed exotoxins of almost all food poisoning organisms are heat stable. Good. Last is super antigen of Staph aureus. It is also a type of toxin which acts on the beta variant chain of toxic. I'll just draw this diagram. Suppose this is a T cell, and this is the receptor of the T cell. This is the alpha limb and the beta limb. And this is the antigen comes and binds in the groove. But if it doesn't bind and instead, I'll draw another diagram. This is a T cell. If it binds at the beta variant chain, then cytokine storming will occur, which will lead this type of antigen binding to the beta variant chain of T cell receptor is a super antigen, and which is very fatal, and it causes massive release of cytokines and polyclonal B cell activation. Now, they'll ask you what are the examples of super antigens. Staphylococcus aureus, you have toxic shock syndrome toxin, which causes toxic shock syndrome, especially in menstrual females and also in ENT individuals that have undergone surgery, because you do a lot of nasal packings, gauze pads over there, because your hands are carrying MRSA, and MRSA strains are known to cause super antigen. Exfoliative toxin, which we are going to talk in 2 minutes from here. Enterotoxin, which we have already discussed, causes food poisoning. Coming to streptococcus, it causes streptococcus pyrogenic exotoxin type A, B, C. They are also examples for super antigen. Mycoplasma arthritis, Yersinia enterocolytica, viruses such as Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, HIV virus, rabies nucleocapsid, fungus, you have Malassezia furfur. This is the best list which you will never find in a nutshell in any book or any material over there. So these are all the examples for super antigen. Fine, moving ahead from here. Yeah. What happens in super antigens? I mean, toxic shock syndrome, hypotension, fever, rash, multi-organ failure. Fine. And exfoliative toxin, as you can see a figure here, the patient will complain of peeling of the skin. It's also called staphylococcal scalded skin syndrome. Staphylococcus scalded skin syndrome, 4S. Exfoliative toxin, which is a super antigen. Now look at here. There are a lot of doubts students ask. Again, we have a good list here. Mild form of exfoliative toxin, it is called Pemphigus neonatorum or Bullous impetigo. In milder forms, it is known as Ritter's disease. In elders, it is called toxic epidermal necrolysis. Toxic epidermal necrosis. I repeat again, this is very important. Staphylococcus scalded skin syndrome. Milder forms are called Pemphigus neonatorum or Bullous impetigo. In neonates, it is called Ritter's disease. Don't get confused with Ritter's syndrome. In elders, it is called toxic epidermal necrosis. Another important thing we should learn here is Nikolsky sign, which they normally ask in dermatology or might be also in the microbiology part, which is nothing but sloughing of the epidermis, can be proved by just gentle screening with a pen or a pencil just over the palm or the wrist. The skin peels off. Fine. Last factor which is also responsible for your toxin or valence factor is Panton Valentin toxin. Please very, very important, make a note of this. Put a 5-star. Panton Valentin leukocidin or Panton Valentin toxin is responsible for community acquired MRSA. Community acquired MRSA. This is another very important question. Most of the people keep or overlook, don't go into the depths, and this is a question asked in your exams. Fine. Having said that, let's move ahead. Any of you know what are the diseases caused by Staph aureus? Nigam, how much time we have more?
You can continue, sir. No problem.
5 minutes?
Yes,
Fine.
sir.
I think, let me see where we are now. We have finished the morphology. We have finished high yield shooting points. We have talked about the toxins, the virulence factors.
Yes, sir. Toxins and also extracts are completed.
Super antigen concept. Yes, we have covered much over here. We have next, I think, the diseases, which we have talked about that. Yeah. Another important question, I think, in MRSA. Okay. Yeah, types of MRSA. Another important concept is here is types of. Types of MRSA. There are two types: community acquired and hospital acquired MRSA. We already talked that community acquired MRSA is because of the MEC-A gene. Also, same way the hospital acquired gene. But in the exam, they'll ask you which phage type was responsible. As you can see, it's phage 4 in community acquired, and Panton Valentin toxin also can cause MRSA. But we talk about MRSA in hospital acquired, it is 1, 2, and 3. How do you detect MRSA is the next question. It is using, already as we discussed, you can use a oxacillin disc agar or cefoxitin. Right. What is the treatment for MRSA? Vancomycin is a drug of choice. A big question, a lot of students ask. What is the, I'll just choose a color. What is the treatment for MRSA? Vancomycin is a drug of choice. Other drugs, what are the other drugs that can be given for MRSA cases? Teicoplanin, linezolid, streptogramin, ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, cotrimoxazole. Please make a note of all these drugs because everything can be a question for you. Clindamycin, mifuracin ointment, which is also used for treatment of the patients with MRSA. Now, if I ask you a question, should note that fifth generation cephalosporins are exceptions which can be given for treatment of MRSA. Ceftobiprole, as you can see, it's bold over here. Ceftobiprole or cefofitan, there are two drugs. Ceftobiprole or cefofitan, which can be given for treatment of MRSA. These are all the newest drugs. The old drugs were vancomycin, teicoplanin, linezolid. Newer drugs are daptomycin and fifth generation cephalosporin. Then another question a lot of people have: what is VRSA? VRSA is nothing but with vancomycin resistant staph aureus. So if people are having vancomycin resistant staph aureus, then you can go for linezolid or daptomycin or mupirocin or ceftobiprole. Fine. I think that should end. That should end today's class. And just give me 1 to 2 minutes, Nigam. I'll finish also the Coagulous negative staph. Why we should talk about or end the Staphylococcus portion, this Coagulous negative staph? We already discussed that there are two species in Coagulous negative, Staphylococcus epidermidis and Staphylococcus saprophytes. How are you going to differentiate? Just put novibacin disc. If it is novibacin sensitive, then it is staph epidermidis. If it is novibacin resistant, it is staph saprophyticus. Yeah, Staphylococcus epidermidis is normally present on the skins. You can see everybody has Staphylococcus epidermidis on the skin. Now, what it can cause when you are using IV cannulas over here, or you are using central venous line, and you are using aseptic precautions, there are chances that this Staphylococcus epidermidis which is present on your skin might go through the IV cannulas or the central line, might nicely inhabit, directly go and cause endocarditis. Endocarditis, that's the very biggest problem. And this Staphylococcus epidermidis also has predilection for foreign bodies like skin grafts, catheters, prosthetic implants. They form nice biofilms over there. And believe me, once biofilms are formed, it is very difficult for you to eradicate. There is no drug that you have to treat them. So that is the specialty and importance of Staphylococcus epidermidis, which is present on the skin. But in people who are immunocompromised and people where you are not using aseptic precautions when you are putting IV cannulas or central lines, this organism might go through the cannulas or the central lines directly to your endocardium and might involve your prosthetic valves. As already discussed, I asked you a question: what is the most common cause of early prosthetic valve endocarditis? Early, E for epidermidis. So early prosthetic valve endocarditis, Staphylococcus epidermidis. That's the reason for that. Another thing is also causes stitch abscess. It also causes stitch abscess. That is, you don't use aseptic precautions while putting a stitch. And I mean, post-op, the patient comes with drain of pus epidermis. Last species, Saprophyticus. It is also a normal commensal in the normal vaginal tract of a females. Unless and otherwise you disturb it. If you disturb it, it will disturb you. It will cause vaginitis, and mostly it causes honeymoon cystitis, infection of the urinary bladder and the urethra in sexually active young women. If I ask you a question, what is the most common cause of UTI in sexually reproductive female? If there's an option other than E. coli, then you should look out where is Staphylococcus epidermidis. 20 to 30% of UTI, urinary tract infection in sexually active women, the answer would be Saprophyticus after E. coli. I think we are done, Nigam. Any doubts, comments? We have 2-3 minutes. You can discuss. Anybody can chat.
Yes, sir. I have unmuted down. Now
No doubt, sir.
and everybody wants I'll be uploading this lecture in my website.
Can anybody chat? Because I have opened the Zoom group chat also. Okay, somebody has given me a question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is this session for every time? Means tomorrow also will stream?
Nigam will answer the question.
I have shared the screen, you can see here. Where the session is, you can go to the transcript and download this.
निगम सर आपकी आवाज अच्छे से नहीं आ रही है.
Nigam, your voice is breaking. I think we can give an answer in chat session.
You can download from here. I will
You can type in the chat. You can listen.
qualified student, is this sessions would be on daily basis? Are you Pradeep?
Yes, sir.
This question raised by you?
बुक बनाए शायद एक
Guys, can you just raise the chat? Okay.
हेलो
Okay, sir.
Now it's clear, I think, Nikam.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, you can ask the doubts.
Somebody, I think Misbah 71, there was a question asked. S. marcescens is staph or streptococcus, sir? S. marcescens is neither staph or streptococcus. It is Serratia marcescens. Let me correct. S. marcescens. If you have seen somewhere S. marcescens, then it is Serratia marcescens. Serratia marcescens is a gram-negative bacilli. A very important. It also produces brick red pigment, and the name of the pigment is prodigiosin. The name of the pigment is prodigiosin, which produces a typical brick red orange pigment, and it is normally a contaminant in lab. It causes UTI. So Serratia marcescens nothing to do with staph or streptococcus. Somebody was asking another question. Please, what is the meaning of MC? Most common. I'm sorry for that. It's most common. Sir, I remember reading somewhere about S. marcescens being catalase positive. Yes, you are definitely right. Serratia marcescens is also catalase positive, but it is neither strep or staph. Any more questions? Please let me know whatever topics you want to have through Nigam. He will be in touch with me. We can have a planned schedule, and we can start from wherever you like, anytime, anywhere. You can just chat whoever are there.
Doubt can ask now.
Or you can ask doubts or questions. You can also go through the All India for PG site. I have shared my mnemonics in bacteriology, virology, mycology, parasitology, the entire mnemonics with Dr. Nigam. He is already uploaded in the magazine, I think. Please have a look on that. And also, I've uploaded a few of my presentation on the YouTube. Planning to share this also if possible. Ask Nigam some doubts.
You can give your YouTube links up to them. Or
Yeah, please. I will share with you. Share with you, Nigam. You can put it on the group.
okay, sir.
These are there 87, right?
जब दिल में आया जो करना चाहे करते
Is the next session happening, Nigam?
Session happening. The question raised to you. Nigam,
Sir,
I've asked a question. When is the next session?
next session is on 27th, and you can get everything from M4PG LearnPad under LearnPad, and I'll be contact with sir. For next session, I will contact with sir and I'll be uploading website.
Sir, is the next session free? Accessible to all?
Let's see if because sir time is also very flexible, and if sir is free, I will ask. Otherwise, it will be a paid session because every time I think sir cannot be come and tell the session, so we'll be looking to that later.
ठीक है सर, ठीक है, बहुत शुक्रिया.
Please try to give your feedback because I'm a teacher who has love for passion for teaching. I've been teaching since 13 years. Though I have been busy in my medical college, we are setting up a lab for PCR COVID testing. I am leaving my home at 9 o'clock, coming back 7 o'clock, 7:30. Ramzan is anyhow started. I'm fasting, but Nigam has requested me to start this. I could
That I was thinking.
take out some time. I'm very happy because I think that should prove that I'm very happy and passionate for teaching.
They're also very big.
Students, please feel free to ask any questions. I mean, this is a platform, and I'm a teacher. I'm totally. You can just come to know any of my any of your students or in the group. I welcome you wholeheartedly. Please ask doubts. I mean, the very biggest secret of success in all India is commit mistakes now so that you don't do mistakes in or during the final exam. I mean, you can put your doubts through your mnemonics in the chat session also.
One fellow asked, sir, please upload numerics. It is already there in the group, and I will be uploading sir's group. It is microbiology. You can download from there. No problem. And this lecture will be uploaded here. You can see I have wait. I have session of sir will be uploaded in website also. I will say show you the how to download it.
Anybody has any questions, or shall I sign off?
Yes, sir.
Please feel free to ask because
You can
1 minute.
Thank you.
Shall we keep 1 or 2 minutes last, Nigam? Is
yes,
it
sir,
okay?
2 minutes. I'll tell them how.
1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute. We'll wait and then I can sign off.
Okay, sir. I think no doubt. Let me show how to download.
Okay.
Lecture you can.
Thank you very much.
You can download for.
Thank you very much. All the best.
In unpaid session for upcoming and you can unpaid session, and for upcomings you can see here in 27th or 30 I think there is another lecture.
So Nigam, so can you just send us this entire list to us so that we'll be aware what is the schedule in the upcoming weeks?
Yeah, in this upcoming link you have to click and you will get the list. Because first class was today, so next on 27th, 30, then pharma, May, and more will be coming. More I think medicine or some orthopedics will come. And to download, you just go to store and you will download. No problem in that. I'll be sharing. Yeah, first link will come. You can download from here. Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right.